Hi guys, welcome to our channel, welcome back. I'm Kelly.
I'm Rich.
And we are Wonderbus Adventures. On this week's video, we are going to be raptoring the roof, so let's get on with that prep work.
Now we've got the skylight in, max air in, and it all sealed over. The next job is going to be getting the rest of the stuff on the roof done. Now, when I was up there, I did notice that there is sort of some rusty patches up there where stones have been dropped by birds and whatnot, stone chips and stuff like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is get on the roof and give it a good clean, because you can see that, you know, over the past 6 months or so it's gone green and all of the gutters are full. So give it a scrub down, dry it off, then we can see where we first of all need to rub back any surface rust to treat that before we move on. You alright, Cal? How's your arm?
So, that's my second jab today.
Second jab. I've washed and rinsed the roof off now. It's taken like a good few hours, to be honest, but this is the reason why. So it is clean now, but you can see that in various areas, just on the corners of these sort of ridged areas, I've got surface rust. Thankfully it is just surface rust, and I don't want it to get any worse than that. Okay, so today we're going to take the stuff off the roof that we don't want to get paint on, and then we want to paint behind, and then rub down and red oxide any bits that are rusty. See, it's a lot cleaner today than it was yesterday. Okay, now the weather is getting a bit nicer outside, we can start to tackle a little bit more of the body work. It seems strange to have started the inside and maybe not done this back bit, but that's the reason. We're working outdoors and it just wasn't practical to do so. So what I'm going to do today, so I can't fix this, but what I'm going to do to try and save some pennies and save this metal work is clean all this back with my flap discs and then paint it up, so we can see if there's any big holes. I'm suspecting there might be some here that might need to be filled with a piece of metal, some new metal. Obviously the corners need to be fixed up, so again I'm going to grind those back now and just see if I can make work a little bit easier for the welder Luke when he comes back from Allen Automotive. Give him a look up, he's a good lad. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing now. Okay, so I have got my mask on, so I might be a little bit muffled. On the whole, this isn't that bad back here, so we know we've got to fix the corners. This bit here will need to be cut out and replaced. This rusty line here and pitted here, so cut that out and replace that. The striker plate itself is actually alright. There's a little bit over here that we might need to cut out, but what I'm going to do now is just prime it with that rust encapsulator, which is safe to just leave that in there then, and it is weld through primer as well, because it's got very high zinc content, just to keep this from re-rusting. And then once we've got this fixed, we'll get it painted back up white. So up here is also pretty crusty. Just going to remove the old light and these panels here, which is for the old reversing camera, which never actually came on the bus, it must have rusted off long ago. And then I'm going to hit this back with the wheel and see how bad that is, see if it needs any welding, and hopefully it's just a bit of surface rust. So let's see if we're lucky. I hope we are. Right, this is what we're dealing with. So taking the old camera, the old light, brackets off now. So bracket for the old camera is at the bottom, then we got the grommet for the wire, and we got the hole for the cable for the light, and then we got the hole for the old bolt that was in there. So we are fitting new brackets for the light that we're going to put on the back of here, and we are fitting new brackets for the camera. So we are going to drill new holes for those, which means I need to fill over these old ones. So what I'm doing at the moment is sanding this back to bare metal, and then I'm going to fiberglass over these holes just to make sure they're watertight before filling them and painting the roof. What I will say is the coach company, when they had this resprayed, whoever did the respray literally just filled over this, and this was all soaked. When I chipped it all off, it was all wet from where I washed the roof yesterday, so clearly it needed to be fixed before I paint the roof, to make sure it doesn't keep rusting basically. I've shown you this stuff before, but basically it's Genelite's own rust converter that you can paint on, and then it converts any sort of leftover rust that you haven't got with the grinder. And it's purple because that's where it's worked. So I've painted that all around now on this bottom bit, and I've done it all on the roof as well. I'm going to let that dry for a little while. It says a few hours, but and then I can clean that up and begin fiberglassing over those holes. Before I carry on treating all this stuff, so you can see that it's fiberglass at the moment, I need to rub it back. I'm going to drill the holes for our reversing camera. So I've decided to reuse the grommet hole here, which whoever drilled it in the first place, it's not quite central, but you know, I'm not going to fill that over to re-drill it, so we'll just leave that as it is. What I've done is I popped some tape on here, matched it up with the centre of the van, and then it's 2.5 centimetres either side, making 5 apart. So I'm just going to drill those through. I'm going to use some rubber riv nuts that are usually used on things like kayaks, and what that will allow me to do is to basically secure this through and create a watertight seal at the same time. Okay, so it's still not looking too pretty, but what I've done, I fixed the holes and sanded them back so they're smooth and watertight. I treated the rust, which is why it's now all black and not rusty coloured. And I've drilled all the holes now for the camera and the light. What I'm going to do now is apply a product called Rust Encapsulator. So it's a self-etching primer that actually converts any remaining rust over a period of months back to good metal, and it works perfectly with the Raptor, and also acts as a bit of a filler. So I'm going to paint that over after cleaning this up with a bit of panel wipe, and then tomorrow you can see if that needs to be filled at all. But any sort of minor blemishes will be covered by the Raptor. It's really thick stuff. Just taking delivery of a tower. Father-in-law come around and help me put it up. Thanks very much, Dave. So this is going to allow me to work at the same height as the roof on a bit more of a stable platform than the ladder that I have been using, because I nearly fell off the roof yesterday. So yeah, ordered it last night, arrived today, 70 quid for the week. Job's a good one. Day 2, the tower's here. It doesn't look any different from yesterday, from here anyway, apart from there's a load of flies dead on the roof. Yesterday I worked on the door, today I'm going to work on the rest of the roof. I began by removing the side lights and anything I didn't really want to get paint on. Also, we need to remove all of these guys. Seems to have drowned themselves overnight. But yeah, this is the sort of thing that we're going along and treating today. So, you know, it's not deep rust, it's just surface rust, and we want to catch that before it gets any worse. So yeah, I'm going to go along. It's only in key spots really. And then I'm going to key the rest of the surface. But yeah, this is what we're doing, just patching up the little bits of rust that were here. You can see now this is sort of dull, shiny, dull. Well, you can see that's keyed now, ready to go. So I'm going to move my way along the bus. Bird's done a big poo up there. Do the other side, do the middle, and then we'll give it a wash down, ready to paint tomorrow. So I've spent a good few hours on it today. You can see all of the little bits of red oxide on, well, I keep calling it red oxide, it's not, it's rust encapsulator. And I've gone over the entire roof now, which is why it's dull and not shiny. So I'm just finishing up a few little bits that need a bit more of this rust encapsulator, and then I'm going to call it a day. Tomorrow, hopefully, we can get the whole roof degreased and cleaned and Raptor it. Let's see. Making my way, Mole Town, moling out with Mole Town, molly, 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 molly. So what I'm doing here is removing the old radio aerial, which didn't work, so we can paint the roof, and I'm going to replace it with a DAB aerial, which will go in the same hole, I'm hoping, and give us digital radio as well as FM and medium wave and all of that goodness. So day 2 finished, and honestly, I don't know if I've made it worse or better, but it is different. Okay, so the next day, you can see that the rust encapsulator is dry now. What I'm going to do now, so even though I've sanded all this over already, I'm going to go over with this sort of Scotch Brite type material, just to make sure that there's no shiny bits. So you can see here, if I demonstrate, this panel I've done, you can see that it's all dull. Panel at the front I haven't done. So the Raptor's got a really good base to adhere to. So yeah, yesterday I sanded all of these bits of rust back and treated them, so we shouldn't have a problem with that again. Now we just want to make sure that the paint is prepared for the Raptor. Once I've gone over with all of this, I'm going to panel wipe down over the red ox and prime that like I've done with the front, with some white primer. Because I'm painting the roof white, I don't want obviously this to show through, and I think the Raptor would cover it, but belt and braces just to be sure. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. Gonna rub this all over now until it's all dull. It's all in the prep, all in the prep. You alright, dude? Wanna come and help? Attach some of these pads to your little wings. Yeah? Pay is good. As much seed as you can eat. Come on, over you come. No? Alright then, you just carry on watching. So, for all the undulations in the roof, where's my glove? All the undulations in the roof, these like Scotch pads are brilliant. So this is the equivalent of the 320 grit paper that I was using yesterday, and I can get in all of these nooks and crannies just to make sure that we haven't got any bits that aren't sanded. Yeah, it probably seems a bit crazy that I've literally gone over the roof like 3 or 4 times, and I'm sure like if you did this day in day out, you'd do it once and be happy with it, but I want to be sure. So I'm taking the time now to just do all of the prep that I can, having not done this before. But you know, I've already learned that these pads are really good, so would recommend getting some of those if you are preparing to paint over a sort of existing paint, because this will just key it for you, especially if the panel's not flat like the roof isn't. I'm just figuring out where I'm going to put my cable gland. So I'm going to have one on the back, which is double for the solar. I'm going to put a single one on the front for the cables to come out for the lights that I'm putting on the roof, so for the light bar and our other LED floodlights. So I've been agonising over where to put this. What we've decided to do is to put it at the back on this panel, which is flat at a high point. So water, you know, we're going to seal this up, but so water can't get in there. You can put it either way around as long as it's watertight, because these glands here, when they tighten up, they are watertight. I'm going to first of all mask up where it's going to go on here and then draw around it so I can be happy where it's going to go. The next choice you've kind of got is whether you drill 1 or 2 holes. Now for me it makes sense to just drill 1 large hole that will accommodate the cables that's going in there. So the cables I've got is 6mm cable, so with the sheathing on there I know it needs to be at probably at least 20mm, so I'm going to drill a 32mm hole in mine, which sits perfectly in here with plenty of room around it once it's been Sikaflexed, so it's sealed. So yeah, step one, mask up. It's marked up on the roof now. These inner lines here, I've oversized them, so the ridge that runs around the inner thing of my gland is 1.5 centimeters. So what I've done is I've measured 2 in, so I know that as long as the hole remains within that area, it's safe. It will be watertight, all in there. So I've got a margin of error, but what I've done is I've measured the center point from left to right and from front to back, and that's where I'm going to drill through. So next job is to just drill a small pilot hole for my hole saw. Okay, so that's drilled. Wise person once told me today's shavings are tomorrow's rust. So I'm going to clean all this up now and then file around the hole, and then we're going to just paint it up with some rust encapsulator today, because tomorrow I'm going to be Raptoring the roof. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, this is dull, Rich. And it is. The paint needs to be dull, because that's how we're going to get good adhesion when we roll the Raptor on tomorrow. I've come out this morning and it was cold last night, so I have loads of condensation on the roof, which means I can't paint until it's completely dry. So what I'm doing is drying it off with my microfiber towel, and then I'll wait for the sun to come round a little bit and warm the roof up. Once the roof was dry, I blew all of the dust off with my air gun and then rubbed over with loads of tack cloths. I've got 2 kits of this, so 8 litres, well, not quite 8 litres, 7.6 litres, and this is tintable stuff. So tint comes in here. I've got 2 litres of tint that I'm going to mix together, just to make sure that I've got even coat. And then in the kit what you get is 4 bottles of Raptor, a tin of hardener and a measuring cup. And in here, so I've got mine from Buzzworld. They're not the cheapest, but they do offer something unique in that they put glass fibers in theirs to make it apparently the toughest Raptor in the world, so their claim. But yeah, lots of other retailers are obviously available. That's just where I've got mine. So I'm going to mix that up in a second and show you how we do that. I've got 2 tins of tint here. They should be exactly the same, but just to make sure I get a similar shade, I'm going to decant both of them into this clean mixing jug and mix them up. I don't have a paint mixer, so I'm going to use this whisk, and then we'll be ready to mix the Raptor up. What I'm going to do now is mix the paint up. So what you do is you get the Raptor Shuts bottle and give it a really good shake first. I need to do this especially because I've got that glass fibre in there. And then what you do is you add the hardener, which you get a measuring cup for, and then 100 ml of tint. Shake it all up and then decant it, and away you go. What I've bought is these Raptor rollers. So I found these cheapest at the time on Euro Car Parts, got them delivered next day. It comes with these special rollers that give the texture, and also they don't get eaten by the paint. I started from front to back and I worked on the middle sections first, leaving the side sections until last. What I did find though when I was working on top of the roof was that the rollers would get torn up quite quickly, and the reason for this was quite interesting and twofold really. So I reached out to Craig at Buzzworld to find out really what I was doing wrong, and if I could make the rollers last any longer. Now, spoke to Craig from Buzzweld, and he was like, "You're pushing the roller too hard." And I was like, let's give that a go. And he's absolutely spot on. So yeah, the texture on the sides here, I've been using sort of minimal pressure, and it's come out great. So for the second coat on the roof, I'll make sure I use less pressure so we can get the same texture as I've got here on the sides. But let me just walk up here. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that. After, I mean, that one coat that is, and it already looks brilliant. I think with 2 coats, that's going to be pretty bomb-proof. And then what I've done in the gutter is I've obviously kept it smooth, and I've gone along with a paintbrush instead in there, a couple of coats, so we've got a smooth run. I'm going to crack on now, finish this front bit, and then move around and do the other side in the back. And this is the texture that I've achieved with a coat. So tomorrow I'm going to put another coat on. Annoyingly, I've run out, so I can't finish down the side here, but it's late in the day now. If I mix up another batch now, it won't last till tomorrow. You only have like a working time of 60 minutes, so I'm going to sleep on it, come at it fresh in the morning. Right, disregarding the fact that I need to clean a poo off of the roof before I can paint. Just the next morning, and the paint guy, Craig at Buzzweld, just said to me, you need to check to see if it's gone rock hard or not, because if it has, you're going to need to scorch the roof. So I've already done a little test, and I can still mark this paint, which I did at about 12 o'clock yesterday, so 10 o'clock the next day, with my thumbnail, which means it's fine to paint over still, which is good news. So I'm going to do a second coat. Now the sun's out, got pretty good coverage, but you can see sort of some areas like here, a couple other places. We've got a couple of low spots, so another coat is what's on the cards today. And then my first coat, and if I've got it perfect, there's a load of roller, and then absolute minimal pressure. Get the sort of first coat on, and then just spend like a good sort of 20-30 seconds light pressure going back over it. And what you'll find is the paint starts to dry fairly rapidly, so it's not dry hard, but it dries to a stage where with this light pressure you can create that texture. Raptor. And it goes on nice and thick. So it's all about slow, even pressure really. And once it goes tacky a little bit, you can just put that in with the roller. Down in the rain gutter, I've used a brush to keep it smooth. Yeah, so the water runs away as it should. On the edge, I am just getting my roller very carefully, going along to create a textured finish on the side as well. And then underneath, I am going to use the brush to do the underside of the rail, just to give it that same hard finish as the rest of the roof. Yeah, that's the first coat of the whole roof done. And move straight on, because remember I did the rest of the roof yesterday, to the second coat. And by the time I've finished that, I'll be able to apply the second coat to this side of the gland. Right. So, some of the things that you don't want to happen when this is being done. Choose good weather, got that. Try and get it when there's not flies knocking about. And there's a few, but it dries quite quickly. And ideally, you don't want some dude coming along with a lawnmower spraying grass all up in the air. But we'll see how that goes. I was kind of stopped because I've seen him coming. That's the second coat applied. Again, I've painted smooth down in the rail with a brush and underneath, and then on the edge I've done it textured like on the roof. The fittings I've got for my roof rack, they're going to clamp in here, so I wanted to make sure that this was all solid as well. It's 5:30. Roast dinner is ready in 30 minutes, and I've got a hole down the side to do. Can I do it? Let's find out. The answer was no. Going on it. Tea might be cold. And tea was cold.
Many teas.
I still ate it, and it was still quite delicious actually, so it was okay. And the roof is looking glorious. Next time I'm going to show you us putting all our new bling stuff on there. So we've got like reversing camera, new posh lights. We're building our own roof rack,
which will house 3 large solar panels, which is 960 watts.
Yeah, they're huge. They're supposed to be off of a house. So
they're whoppers.
Yeah, whoppers. So we're going to be showing you all of that stuff, building our own custom rack. Thanks so much for watching. Please do put your comments down below.
Oh, all your comments last week were so lovely, and they really helped cheer us up, so thank you.
It's the most comments we've ever got as well. So like, for such a depressing video, it was so nice to get. I think we had like 86 comments over the week. So we're like determined to keep hearing from you guys, and we'll always try and respond where we can too. So thanks so much for watching. Take care. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.
There. What am I supposed to do with this, Rosemary?
You get to put on sandwiches. Sandwiches and also meat.
Okay.
That's what we're going to put it on.
Okay.
And we're also going to put a nice apple on top of the sandwich.
Mmm. Tastes delicious.
A slice of apple.
A slice of apple.
But it can't be peeled.
Okay.
And you chop it and wash it.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do. But not for school lunch, at home lunch.
Okay. School lunch tomorrow.
But only at home lunch you can do that.
Okay.
What are you doing, man? Are you here to be our mascot? He's here to be our mascot, guys.
Is he?
Yeah. He has a wife now. Her name is Julica, guys.